Hey guys, welcome back. Today we got a little repair video here. This is the taillight, one of the taillight assemblies off of a utility trailer. This is for Jake from TN Tactical here on YouTube. He's my brother-in-law, and we were moving some furniture around, and my shin made contact with this bracket pretty hard, and well, you see what happened here. So today we're going to try to fix it, and I'm going to go over a few things about welding, and I'm going to go over a few things about how to fix stuff. So stay tuned, and in the meantime, I'm going to get this light off of the bracket, and we'll go from there. Okay, there were just two screws or two nuts on the back that held this on, so I took those off. We'll set this aside, and now we can really look at the bracket and see what we need to do. So when fixing something, you usually have a few options. You can go back the factory way, like fix it exactly how it was, like meaning I could just weld this bracket up and it would be just fine. It would work just fine. But you seen what happened. Eventually this thing broke at some point. So we're not going to do that. Your second option would be to remake the whole thing and design the failure point out of the equation where this came off. Design this out of the equation. And the reason that it failed is you can see that there's nothing connected on this back side. So there's option 2. We're not going to do that either. And option 3, you could fix it a number of ways with some steel plate. This is 1/8 inch thick by 2 inch flat bar. We could weld it in its place. We could do that. But we're not going to do that either. I think what I'm going to do, since this broke before, and I don't want it to look kind of ugly, I want it to look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use this piece of angle, but this is just I'm just showing you what it's going to look like here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on the inside of this, and we're going to put a piece of angle, attach it to this part, and we're going to attach it to this back side here. And that should really improve the rigidity of it and keep this from happening again. Okay, first things first, second things second. So let's get all this JB weld off and get everything cleaned up. We don't have to worry about this piece, but I'm going to use this piece as a template. So I can cut this hole, this slot, and these 2 holes. Okay, now that this is all cleaned up, there's no more JB weld on it. You can kind of see what we're working with here. You can see where the old bracket fits just like so. And more than likely this is a stress fracture, where this is on the trailer bounced up and down enough to where it just broke right there eventually. So the way we're going to fix it, like I said, with our angle iron, we're going to put it underneath this piece and tie it into there, just like so. Okay, the next step is our angle iron here. So I have some scrap 2 inch angle. This is 1/8 inch thick. It's a little rusty, but it'll be fine. So here's our bracket. That's the way we want it to fit, is like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the old bracket on here. I cleaned off the rest of that JB Weld. So I'm going to put the old bracket all back together the way that it was. I don't really have to do this, but it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to clamp this one on here, this one on here, and I'm going to mark everything that I need to cut out. I can even mark it right there. Okay, I just wanted to point this out real quick. So this sheet metal has a rounded corner, and the angle iron has a sharp corner. So what I'm going to do is where these two meet here, I'm going to soften this corner up to match this corner. So I'm going to put a little radius on there so that these two can fit together really well. See how it's got that little gap? So let me do that. There we go. That's much better. There's no wobble in it. Very little. Okay. Yeah, that's much better. I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I'm going to clamp this guy here. Make sure everything's sitting where it needs to. Now I can set this one here just like that. Everything looks good. Okay, so now I can mark everything that needs to be cut out, and we'll go cut it out. Just like that. So let me put a mark here. Mark right there. This is what we're going to use to get our hole started and established. Okay, the size of this drill bit ended up coming out to be 0.339. That's what size the hole is of an inch. I just so happen to have one. So now let's take a look at what we got here. So that should fit just like that. And it does. Okay, so the next thing I may work on is trying to get this to fit a little bit better. It's still got a little bit of a rock to it. So I may work on that a little bit. Let me see if it's actually 90 degrees first. And it's not. So I don't know if you can see that. There's a little bit of a gap in there. Kind of moves a little bit. So let's check this right here. Let's see if we got 90 degrees. We got 90 degrees there. And we're a little off right there. So I think that's where our little rock is coming from. So let me shape that up just a little bit and I'll bring it right back. Okay, that's much better. It's actually exactly 90 degrees, so that's good. Hit that one just a little bit too, so those are good. Now let's see how it fits. Oh yeah, that's actually a lot better. So the next step is I'm going to go ahead and cut this little groove out, and I'll bring you back when that's done. So what I did was I put 2 cutoff wheels on my grinder because they were like the exact size that I needed, and that's how I cut the little groove. Yeah, it worked pretty good. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is cut this off, and we'll try to fit it onto the bracket. So now there's that. Here's our bracket. It's going to go in. How does that go in? Like that right there. So that's how it's going to fit, just like that. Okay. Let me get this bracket cleaned up, and I'm going to clean in here to where I'm going to have to weld at. And I'll bring you guys back whenever I get that done. Okay, I just ran this through the sandblasting cabinet, and I did the same with this. I'm gonna wipe all this stuff down, and we'll start putting it together. Okay, let's talk about welding for a minute. I'm just gonna show you the setup that I use the most here. This is a Hobart MVP 210. So it'll weld with 110 volts or 220 volts. I have it set up to use flux core wire right now. That's the reason this tip is on here. Now, if I wasn't using flux core, I would have to use this tip and use shielding gas. So I don't use shielding gas, and I use flux core wire, and that's just what I use the most. Now, shielding gas is not a bad thing. Flux core is not a bad thing. A lot of people don't like flux core. A flux core will kind of burn in to the weld better. It makes better penetration. So, flux core wire is basically like an electrode for stick welding. The only difference is on the electrode, the flux is on the outside of the rod. And on a flux core wire, the flux is on the inside of the wire. And that's why they call it flux core. So I'm using 030 wire, flux core wire. I got some off Amazon, so just cheap welding wire, and I actually kind of like it. It welds really good. But as far as your heat settings goes for flux core, it's going to be a little different than if you're welding with shielding gas. Okay, right here's the chart I was talking about. So in our situation, we're going to be around 16 gauge, and we're going to be using no shielding gas at 115 volts with 030 wire. So we're going to go over here to where we get to 16 gauge, which is right there. So we need to put our knobs on 5 and 25. I'm just going to put a couple tacks in a couple spots here, and then we'll weld it up. I just wanted to show this after everything was cleaned up and all the slag removed and all the BBs, or most of them anyways. I still find a few of them later, but it's looking pretty good. Everything's welded up, corners rounded. Even that little spot right there is filled in. I filled it in with weld, so there wasn't like a step. And next thing is just sanding it down and painting it. Well, there it's all back together and painted. I think it looks really good as far as the repair goes. I think it'll do just fine. It's actually a lot stronger than it was before. There's like no comparison. So I'm sure it'll hold up just fine. It's got a little divot right there. The paint, I mean, I'm not very good at painting, but I've done the best that I could on it. Where it's powder coated, it's really kind of hard to paint. I had to sand it quite a bit. But yeah, this taillight's for Jake from 10 Tactical. So go check him out too. So I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.